Hello and welcome to this edition of WideOrbit's Widen Your World. This will be our first video in a series discussing the setup and configuration of group voice tracking. We will cover the necessary connection to a centralized friendship server, category planning, and lastly, some of the considerations to be making when you're preparing to configure your local markets. Let's start with friendship server. Friendship is required for the free exchange and sharing of files between markets. Each of the markets that will be associated with group voice tracking will need to be connected to a centralized friendship server. To check your market's central server's connection with a friendship server, first connect and log into your central server's configuration page. Scroll through the options along the left side of the page to the bottom under System Headings. You will find a link to Friendships. The top section of this page contains your local family name and some other settings pertaining to your specific location. Toward the bottom of the page, you will find the friendship servers your market has been associated with. Each of the market families will need to be associated with the same friendship server. Once connected with the friendship server, the full permissions will need to be granted to each market. To check the permissions between your market and other markets, log on to the friendship server configuration page. This can be accomplished by clicking on the link next to the desired friendship server in the list of friendship servers on your central server configuration page. Once logged into friendship server configuration, the bottom section of the page will show a list of the families that are associated with this friendship server. Start by making sure all the necessary markets are displayed in this list. Click on your local market's family name, and you will want to make sure that there is a checkbox for each family for search, upload, and download. Once this is complete, click on Save Privileges. When you have completed this process for your local family, repeat this process for each family being associated with the group voice tracking. Category planning is going to be an essential part of the configuration. When it comes to planning out your categories, it's important to know how group voice tracking works. Group voice tracks will require a dedicated category to house the group voice tracks. This will need to be separate from the categories already being used for your normal voice tracking scheme and inserted voice tracks. In addition to having a dedicated category for the group voice tracks, this category must also be unique across all markets doing the group voice tracking. For example, Detroit, Dallas, and San Francisco are going to group voice track for a rock format. Each of these markets will need to have a unique category within the group for these voice tracks. To accomplish this, I may create a category in Detroit called R01, in Dallas R02, and in San Francisco R03. If we have multiple formats that will be associated with other markets to do group voice tracking, we may need to do something like C01 through 03 for a country format, or A01 through 03 for an AC format. There are a few other considerations to make when planning out category schemes. For a market to record a voice track for the group, all of the different categories for that group must be present in the market that is doing the recording. Using the earlier example, if I wanted to record voice tracks for my rock format from Detroit, the Detroit market would need to have R01, R02, and R03 configured on the Detroit Central Server for the files to be saved. In the same fashion, if the talent in San Francisco is going to record the tracks for the group in their local market, the San Francisco market would also need to have categories R01 through 03 configured on their central server. Depending on the size of the group and the number of markets participating in the group voice tracking, this could result in a large number of categories that will need to be configured in every market. If you are a larger operation, it may start to make more sense to have a single market be a hub for a specific group. For example, if we were to make Detroit the hub for the rock group, Detroit would have R01 through 03 configured on the local central server, but Dallas and San Francisco would only need to have their local categories configured. With the use of the Universal Radio Client, talent from Dallas or San Francisco could connect to the Detroit rock station and do the voice tracking from that market. When planning out your deployment of group voice tracking, The preparations discussed in this video should be completed before proceeding to the next part. To recap, you'll want to have your individual markets connected to a centralized friendship server. You'll need to make sure that permissions between the markets have been set. You'll want to plan out the category scheme that you wish to deploy through the network for the various groups. As part of the category planning, you'll want to make decisions if you're going to have hub markets for your groups or if you're going to be setting up for all groups to originate from all locations. If you have any questions regarding this video, please reach out to our support team at ras@wideorbit.com or give us a call at 415-675-6775 option 4.